All right, so we'll call the meeting to order. It is 7:08. We're being filmed by Area 58. It is April 24th, 2017. The Halifax Finance Committee's agenda for tonight is mail, reserve fund transfers / line item transfers, meeting minutes, 7:15 meeting with the Water Department, 7:45 meeting with the Board of Selectmen, Council on Aging and Building Committee, OPEB update, approval, discussion of articles, public participation, and adjournment. So, for mail.
I just have a letter from Pam that says that she got Julianne's resignation,
Okay.
and then I have a Gatsby packet from Nicole.
Okay. So, did everybody get the email that I forwarded about OPEB? Mm-hmm. Okay. So we'll talk about that when we get to the OPEB, I guess. So no reserve fund transfers, a line item. 7:15 appointment, so we have a few minutes for that. Meeting minutes.
One sec.
So, meeting minutes for March 27th. Myself, Linda, Stu, Diane, and Bill were present, so we can vote on these tonight. Has everyone had a chance to review? Okay, is there a motion to approve as printed?
I'll tell you what happened in a minute.
Make a motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, aye?
Aye. I abstain.
Okay.
Gordon was there, and Bill was not. And I forgot that I changed the time that the meeting opened, and we changed who ran the meeting. I looked back and it was the meeting before.
I thought it was me. When I was reading it, I was like, I must misremember this meeting.
No.
Was that the meeting you were away?
No, I was there, and I was like, I don't remember running this meeting, but maybe I'm wrong. So I just let it go.
No, because I usually take the name out, the time out, and just leave the rest there. Well, I didn't, and Mel wasn't even there. So Bill's like,
Good thing you said something, because I thought it was me.
he's like, how did Mel
How
run the
did Mel
meeting
come
and he
up?
wasn't there?
Yeah, how do you think you were reading over if he wasn't there?
So it was really Gordon that ran the meeting, so that's why I just switched it out.
So we have an updated packet from
Thank you.
Sandy. And we have, Sandy, is this a handout that you want to do at town meeting?
It's yes.
Okay.
Which one, the assumptions?
No, what is the letter? So, any changes from our last meeting on any of the line items that we need to be aware of?
There's some that didn't have a...
16. The dog fund change?
Do I have the information?
From the last email that you sent out on 4/11, I opened up that one, and that's 22,036. And then the handout tonight is 22,672.
Oh, it may not have been updated for the wage,
Okay.
that's all. All the wages have been updated for the extra longevity and the 2% increase.
Okay.
I think everything is pretty much the same. I've been going through it, trying to make sure I didn't make any mistakes, so been catching things every once in a while that weren't linked to the right cells, but everything seems to be linked correctly. They're taking
Well,
over your
they're
place.
keeping it to the wall. Everybody's sneaking up on it.
I'm just off by 50 cents, so.
Oh, well, that's not bad. One thing's interesting, if you turn to your last page of the expenditure sheet.
Yep.
Right, so I took a look at, if we vote the union contracts with an estimated about 45,000 for the union contracts, which I don't know what they're gonna be, but I threw that number in there.
Yep.
Our increase in expenditures for this year will be 405,318, which is only a 1.8% increase in expenditures.
Right in line with the CPI.
No, we should note that because that's going to be a first and probably last time.
I just thought it was, because I've been looking at how come we're so far under the levy this year. So that was interesting that we had only increased that amount.
Well,
Of course, that's the communications center has left, which saved over 100,000 there. And the Silver Lake assessment went down. So those things definitely help.
And those are one-time savings. Like, we should not
The
expect
Silver
this
Lake
again next
assessment
year.
is
Yeah.
one time, yeah. The communications though, that,
But that's gonna be a one-time difference. Next year it'll be.
Next year-
it'll be even money. This year it's,
Well, the other line that really helped us a lot this year where is the cherry sheet increase for the school?
okay, I'm still using the governor's numbers.
Right, but that, I mean, that's, when we look at why there's so much room in the levy, that's, you
That's
know,
what they meant. Right, because
that's
our revenues have gone up more than the expenditures.
that's 158,000 over last year.
Yep.
So that's a large chunk too. Which is probably gonna be a one-time deal because of the shift in the population between the two schools. Do you know who confirmed for the water department coming? Keith?
He's usually about 5 minutes late,
Okay.
and he confirmed this morning,
Okay.
so. It's good, it's giving me time to look.
Somebody's coming out. So.
Sounds like.
Thank you.
thank you.
Good.
You're up, Keith. Greg.
You guys are up front.
How you doing?
How are you guys doing?
Real.
You know everybody here?
Pretty much.
Okay. Well, we can go around the table.
I'm Melinda, nice to meet you.
Don't get on to it.
I won't wait. I won't even wait.
Linda Braga.
Bill McAvoy.
And I'm Kendra.
So we had a couple of questions about line
107.
107. So. Where is it? So last year when we had listed on our notes that the increase was gonna be a one-time increase, and we would expect to see it drop back down closer to $25,000. So we know that Bill met with you 2-3 weeks ago,
Maybe 4, yeah.
and there was still some questions over the cost that you guys have estimated and the ongoing costs and what those are gonna be going forward. One of the data sheets that we got back said that if the wells had an issue, it would be over $130,000 to fix.
That's the water filters, Gordon.
Okay,
They were in failure mode at that time, but we did get them back. Recent history, the media lasts about 10 years.
okay.
We're at 9 years right now, so, and there's no way to really tell when the media is gonna fail. It's a relatively slow process. You usually know what's gonna happen with them within a couple of weeks. I don't need to get into it heavily, but we can redose them with specific chemicals, try to bring the media back. If it doesn't come back, it's time for a replacement. It's the bottom line.
So if you have to replace them,
I looked up the media alone 9 years ago was roughly $50,000. It's a green sand. They call it green sand, and that's just what it looks like, is green sand in coal. So a vac truck has to come in, vacuum the material out of each filter. It's a big cost, it really is. It's a big project. So that's what we were thinking was gonna happen last year.
Okay.
But we got the filters back. We got lucky. Meantime, we had to have a sludge removal project going, which we hadn't done much with for many years. So we ended up using a portion of that money for the sludge removal. It's all part of the filter plant.
Yeah.
It's all right there. It's all the same property. It all goes together. The filters create the sludge goes out in the lagoons. It sits there. EPA doesn't tell you, or DEP doesn't tell you where you can dispose of it. They just tell you to dispose of it.
so ongoing on a yearly basis, what do you think the cost will be to maintain those lagoons?
That's unknown.
It changes, Gordon, because of the disposal locations. Trucking is extremely expensive. The last batch we had removed went up to Marlboro. And that's expensive. And you're paying for the truck to, remove it from the lagoons, transport it up. You're paying by the hour, transport it up to Marlboro. Whatever the traffic might be, it's an
Yeah.
hourly rate. You never know how much it's gonna be.
But is this something that you're gonna have to do every year, that you're gonna have to have them pumped
It's
every
gonna
year?
have to be done every year.
So-
I'm working with Mrs. McDonald down here at the closed landfill down here. She's actually working with DEP because she wants to start taking sludge, because most towns produce it. East Bridgewater does, Bridgewater, Hanson doesn't because they don't have a filter plant. Pembroke, a lot of area towns produce it.
Okay.
That would be a big, big savings to us, but that's her thing.
So the cost that was presented in the paperwork last was just for one of the pits?
Yes.
So, Bill, what was the cost on that?
38 sounds right to me, but let me just confirm. Just over 50,000 for one. I'm assuming that's for one lagoon.
Yeah, that was actually, we did rebuild that lagoon down to the bottom. What it is you put a 1 foot thick bed of 3/4 inch stone on the bottom on top of the drain pipes. And you put a foot of washed sand on top of that. So we did do that. We did it right, we'll put it that way. So that's a little extra work.
So is that a process that you're gonna have to do every year, or is that like a,
No, we're gonna have to remove the sludge. If we do it on a yearly basis, the cost is gonna be much less. I'm thinking on a yearly basis, I can't really give you a number on that.
It also depends on what DEP, how hard DEP comes down on us too. You know, like right now, they're down on us because the water from those lagoons drain out into the back, and they're gonna stop that. And you're gonna have to do something with that. Maybe you have to put in another pit just to catch that. And what we're trying to do with this money, we know last year we said 100,000, but, you know, we had our engineers working on it now, go through both places, you know, tell us what do we need to do to keep both of these plants up and running, so that the last thing we want to do is go back to rock. And so look, working with it, so if we figure if we, you know, spend a little bit more money now, we're not going to come back to you in 5 years from now or something and say, all right, now we want $500,000. So it's, to us, it's better to keep the places running, because if they go down, we have a problem.
I think what the finance committee is just looking for is what you think the annual cost is going to be to maintain those going forward, and then what you think your cost for upcoming projects is going to be.
That's what we're working on right now. We got to get the report back from the engineers, and we'll see where we are next year. But right now, we can't give you that answer because we haven't seen his report yet. Right now, we know we're going to need extra, could easily need rebuilt the filters this year. We know we're going to do the other lagoon. If we do both of them, that 100,000, that's not going to cut it.
Yeah, I think that was one of the questions that we had is the number that was presented and that was 130 and you're only asking for 100. So we're trying to get a understanding.
That 130 is going to be on the high side. That 130 is if we just say, all right, we're going to hire somebody to come in and do the whole thing for us. Last year we saved a lot of, not last year, the last couple of times, we did it in-house. If we can do that again, we're going to drop that 100,000 down. But we can't. But I still think we can beat that. That 130 is just a ballpark. I think if we go up a bit on that, we'll drop that down.
Right, but our concern is that you're only asking for the 100, and that project itself would wipe out any funds that you would have to do the pit work, to do anything else. So I guess,
as well as the reserve.
right.
That would be my question, yeah. The reserve 75, correct?
No, the reserve's only 25.
25.
So this is, you know, our question isn't that you're not going to use the money correctly. The question is, are you budgeting enough money for what you have for upcoming projects? Because the 130, if you spent that all, you wouldn't have any money to do the pit work. So,
Well, that's what, we're not planning to spend 130. We know we can beat that price. We're positive.
I guess we're unsure if the 100 is going to be enough for what you're looking to do for this year.
It wouldn't be enough. If we have to empty what we call lagoon number 2, if we have to empty that,
Yeah.
which EPA is probably going to push us to do it. Not that it has an effect the way it's sitting, but they'd like to see it gone. But I think we might be able to work with them on that. So if we did have to remove the sludge from lagoon number 2,
Yeah.
and we had a filter media failure, I'd have to agree $100,000 isn't enough money. The chances of both happening the same year, well, I guess it's possible. No one knows.
Right, but if you're saying that you have to maintain those lagoons each year, and there's going to be a sum of money once they're
There's
rebuilt.
gonna have to be,
A sum-
under the present system down there, under the present system. What the deal is the backwash water goes into the lagoons, the sludge settles out, the water goes out a drain pipe. Drain pipes are just out here in the streets, and it goes into a stream. It's called a discharge permit. We think our engineering company is gonna have us get away from that. We won't have to be bothered with a discharge permit from EPA anymore. It would go into more of a leaching area, and the sludge would be scraped off the top of the leaching bed into dump trucks and hauled away. So don't know how soon that may happen. Personally, I think it's the thing to do, is to change the discharge system there.
So I guess,
We're comfortable with the 100,000 that's in there. We know that we can make that work. But, you know, but if it makes you happy, put more in there. We're not gonna argue.
I mean, we're not gonna spend it just to spend it. We
that's
don't do that.
That's not our belief either.
But another thing too, that lagoon that we just did, that cost a lot of money because it was totally stripped right out. And once we get the second one done, then the next time you do them, you're not doing that. You're just taking the top, taking the sludge off.
but are you gonna have to spend $50,000 to do lagoon number 2, the same way you did lagoon number
Probably
1?
gonna-
It's very possible.
Inflation.
It's very possible.
You won't know, it's hard, because you gotta remember, there's 4 or 5 feet of sludge in there. The sand is on the bottom. And we don't know what the condition that is, or how much sand is left after 40 years until we get there. So they gotta take all that sludge out, then they're gonna go and say, all right, how much sand is still left? Because those have been cleaned out many times over the years, and you take some sand every time you do it. So we gotta see how much is left. Then the next time, when we do them, we're only gonna take it down to the sand and stop, because we know there's enough sand. It's a lot less money, and it's a lot quicker to do it.
I think your question, Gordon, is once we get these empty, what the maintenance cost is per year. To throw a number out, like I said, it changes. I would think 25,000 a year would probably, we use one lagoon at a time. We don't use both of them. We change back and forth every year. I don't know, Dick, what do you think?
It depends. It
Depends where they gotta truck it,
depends,
where it
yeah.
has to
We used to
go.
truck it to Rhode Island. We used to truck it out back.
This is EPA's fault, it's not our fault.
You know, we used to, but now, years ago, they used to truck it all the way to Rhode Island.
We used to truck it right out here in the sand pit for years.
That was real cheap. You know, it depends on, you know, who's taking it at the time, and they can only take so much. You know, that's another thing, you know, they can't say, yeah, we're gonna take it all, we're gonna haul it all down. Well, first of all, you know, you'd probably need 20 trucks to do it, and the places that they take it will only tell the hauler, I only want so many loads per day, how much can they handle? So it changes all the time.
So that brings rough and tough around 80 grand for this coming year
For just the pit work.
to do the pit work and then maintain the first well, sump drainage area, whatever it's called. If you add the 25,000 plus the 55 to redo the second sludge area. Just for those two things.
Yeah.
I would like to be able to hold off on the second one until there's a local designated agent to dispose of it, instead of these trucks running around the state going here and going there, because that's what costs the money, approval.
But will you have a choice? Will the DEP require it?
No, so, EPA.
EPA?
They more or less have already required it. But I haven't really talked to them too much about it. You know, they haven't been calling to say, when are you gonna do the second one or anything like that, so.
If it's not,
I think
what kind of?
they're really good to work with, and they're very, excuse me, very pleased that we did do the first one. So they're working with us pretty well.
But they could come back 3
It's
months from
possible.
now.
As long as they
and
see
do
that
it.
we're making an attempt to correct the problem, they're not gonna, you know, they're not gonna come down that high. If you weren't doing anything, they're gonna come down with a sledgehammer on you. But if you can show them, and which we can show them, you know, we've already done one, we got the engineers working on it, we're making an attempt to correct that problem, they're gonna work with you. It's when you totally ignore them, they're gonna hammer you. You know, we're doing that, so. I'd like to see it just, for now, my recommendation is leave it like it is, give us some more time to get the engineers' reports in and see what we gotta do, get down there, and then we can revisit this next year and see what it looks like. We'll have a much better idea.
Do you think it's reasonable to expect that the engineers will have something to you that you'll be able to develop a long-term budget by next year?
That's what we're hoping, yeah.
That's our goal now,
Yeah.
really.
And I don't see why not. I mean, I don't know how far along they are. I know they've been working on it for a while, so they should be pretty much ready to wrap that up. I mean, we know the things that we're gonna need in the near future, but, you know, we'll see what they come up with.
I guess with that being said, I'd be inclined to vote the 100,000 this year, and revisit this number, but I think going forward, we need a long-term, kind of a number that's not gonna
That
fluctuate
we're
by
working on.
75,000 every couple of years. Because like Gordon opened, last year was a 1 year, we expect that number to drop down. We've added another 75,000 into the budget this year that we weren't quote-unquote expecting. We certainly need to spend the money because the water quality is certainly a key issue in the town. But again, speaking for the
We also,
committee, having a number that's manageable over a long-term period of time is kind of our goal, rather than seeing lots of assigned sort of wave up and down.
I think there's one thing we have to realize, Mel, we hadn't removed any sludge there for many years. So
Right.
that's kind of, for obvious reasons of, what are we gonna do with it?
Yeah.
You don't get answers. You don't get answers from DEP, you don't get it from EPA, they just tell you to get rid of it. Well, where? Well, we don't know. Neither do we. So we have to realize that
Yeah, and
it's a big
certainly we wanna-
cost, but we hadn't spent much
Yeah, we
in the
certainly want to
last
allow
10
you the
years on it.
flexibility to do that
So-
as mandated. But again, we want to have a more flatline approach rather
Yeah.
than $75,000 spike for 2 years and then back down.
I think, I don't think I know, once we get the second lagoon empty, we can get on a yearly budget for the removal of it. And it's gonna, say $25,000 or $30,000. We don't produce that much of it every year.
Yeah.
But when you don't do it for year after year, it adds up.
Yeah. And I guess that's what we're trying to avoid.
Yeah.
It's 10 years down the road.
So the cleaning of the media, that happens every year? The filtration media?
No. The cleaning of the lagoons is every year, the sludge.
Backwash.
Yeah.
The media is about, hopefully we get 10 years out of it.
So Keith just said we were on the 9th year.
We're on the
of
ninth
media.
year.
So what do you think you're going to have to rebuild that this year, or is that going to be in your budget for next year?
I wish I had an answer, Gordon, on that. It's, no one really knows.
The first media, when the plant was built, went 17 or 18 years. And that was with the old stuff. Now they don't make that anymore. Now they have this new green sand.
They have to buy it every 10 years because it fails faster because they didn't make enough money in 17 years.
But it's hard to say. I mean, you gotta just keep an eye on the water quality and it'll give you an idea of how much more time you got. You can see the quality starts to drop and you know you're getting close.
If we do get into water filter failure mode down there, we lose 2 wells because the quality of that well water can't go directly into the system. It has to be filtered because there's so much iron in it. So that's a big issue if we lose 2 wells there, especially in the summertime. That would not be good.
So you have to, that's at the Richmond.
That's at the filter plant, yes.
So at the Y, do you have the same filter set up there?
There's no filter plant at the Y.
Just treated.
We adjust the pH and chlorinate the water there. You know, to the system it goes. But there will be a filter plant there in the future.
What timeline do you think that's going to be?
That also depends on what, depends on, you know, the biggest thing down there is the manganese in the water, and you know, right now, we're doing pretty good holding what's regulated for manganese. If they drop that, which, you know, that's gonna change the time frame on it. I can't see it. That's down the road, I think.
So,
I'd say 10 years maybe.
I think where I stand, Gordon, is I don't want to see the water department get into a major cost at Richmond Park at the time we need a filter plant at the Y camp, because it wouldn't be cost effective to do that. We can take care of Richmond Park when we get our assessment back, sit down, figure out what we're going to do, get that filter plant upgraded to where it needs to be. And there's going to be a lot to it. It's 1979 vintage. Not that that's a bad thing, but it's mostly original. Get that to where it should be, get that paid off, and then we can deal with a filter plant at the Y camp.
So what's your time frame for that project?
I like to see it all done in the next 10 years.
Cost-wise, is that a debt exclusion, do you think, to do the filtration, or do you think that's a...
It's a biggie. I have no idea. It depends. It's not gonna be cheap, I'll tell you that.
4 million. I think that's what Kingston just spent on theirs.
And you'd have to do that at both sites eventually?
We would have to do that at the Y camp, at number 3 and 4 well. The well field where the water is not filtered at all right now. Lincoln Street.
And if you have to replace Richmond filtration system, that's...
I wouldn't want to call replacing it, I would want to call it upgrading it in probably many different ways.
So is that around the same cost area?
No, I don't think so. There'll be a lot less than that.
I think when we get our assessment back from the engineering company, they're probably going to push us to do it in increments.
Okay.
They're going to give us a suggestion on, you know, what you should do this first, okay? You do that this year. Because what we can't have is we can't have the filter plant put out of service for a year for upgrades. So I think we would do it, they're going to suggest do it in increments. And I think financially it would work.
Well, that's what we asked
It would
for.
work great for us because it's not going to be a huge sum of
What
money.
do we need to do now? And, but, you know, what do we need, what's coming down the road that you think we're gonna, so we can budget for it and get ready to do it?
They could possibly come back and say the well field at Richmond Park isn't feasible to spend the money on it. I don't know.
Well, the well isn't, because, you know, every...
I hope they do come back and it's feasible, because then that's a whole nother situation.
And every time you pull a well, especially at Richmond Park, you pull a well, they clean it, they clean the screen, they clean the whole thing, and you try to get the pumping capacity back to where it should be. But every time you do that, sometimes it drops off a little bit. And eventually, it's going to get to the fact where it's not worth doing it. And they'll say, all right, if we get this well, we're going to put another one. I mean, and that's a lot less expensive than the one we just put in at the Y camp. We spent a lot of money down there, but when you're replacing a well, you don't have to go through the whole process of like a new one, because they'll just drop another one right next to it. It's a lot cheaper.
Well, if you guys get an
There's a
update,
lot more than water than people realize when they just turn on a faucet. And people have no idea, you know, what it takes to get that, so you can do that.
if you guys get an update before town meeting, should you let us know on, for cost-wise, because if there's projects that they're suggesting that you get done this year, they can give you a cost estimate to get that done. Because I don't think within the 100,000 that you'll be able to do much of an upgrade. If they come back with something that you need to get done, you get that before town meeting, it would make sense to...
That's probably not going to happen, Gordon.
Okay.
I've got a few numbers from an engineering company. You know, they've been down there in the recent past, and it's going to be a lot of money to do what needs to be done. You know, an alternate power source down there for power outages is 60s vintage, way outdated, not reliable. That's probably one of the first things they're going to look at. motor control center. There's a lot to it.
Sandy?
I didn't know if they were comfortable with the 25,000 for the reserve, if they wanted to leave it at that. The reserve fund. is
Sad to
still-
say, Sandy, it's not a lot of money anymore,
No, I
you
know.
know, it's really not.
Right now, that's what we have it at. We didn't think to increase it. I don't, do you think that would be something we could increase on town meeting for? So if you feel like you would like to increase it at this point to 50,000 or something, can you let us know? We can do that on town meeting.
Separate. Okay, separate subject.
Why don't you call Pat tomorrow, see what he got the numbers, even if he just will deal with the phone, and he get back to you first. See
Okay.
if he's got something that we don't know about,
Okay.
and we can go from there.
It just sounds like you're gonna be cutting it really close with the numbers that you have in the budget. And I think that was the board's biggest concern, the committee's biggest concern. So, do you wanna vote on this tonight, or do you want
I think we hold it for town meeting floor if they have,
updated
if they
numbers?
have any updated numbers. Because it doesn't behoove us to vote it tonight. So
Okay.
It's already going to print, right?
Yeah. All right, so, thank you guys.
All right, thank you. Anytime you guys want to come down for a grand tour, you know, you're welcome. Nights, weekends, Wednesday, it doesn't matter. You can see what we're dealing with.
Charlie?
Yeah, I guess I'm a little confused as to why, I mean, you've asked for the 100,000, right? You've only approved,
We just held the line.
We held the line,
so what is the number that shows up there?
100,000.
100,000.
So.
It's
when-
just got the letter
If nothing
underneath.
changes, then what will happen is.
We'll vote
that
it.
John will ask for a recommendation from you all.
Okay,
Good.
thank you.
All right, thank you.
Back to you, so I'm just going on here. Does this say goes to? So, our next item on the agenda is a 7:45 meeting with the Board of Selectmen, Council on Aging, and Building Committee. So, hello, everyone.
Hi there. If you guys were here at the last meeting, they wouldn't have had to pay me twice to do this.
And we'll double your salary here on the line tonight.
Actually, I brought these along, but I really won't,
Chairman.
they're there if you want to see them. But what I did, I put together this little booklet that
Thank you.
Let's go.
kind of has all the floor plans in it.
It's coming.
Right.
Pass them out to everybody in town.
You know, a printer or something?
I had a little influence. As you know, we're trying to promote this as a joint building where other organizations like Cub Scouts, Youth and Recreations could have banquets in the big hall and everything else. So we call this a multi-use building project. And I put together a letter on the second page. It tells you a little bit of what we did. And down there where it says, we have the backing of the Board of Selectmen. I left the space there for the Finance Committee. So before it got printed again, hopefully we can get a decision. If not, I'll just move the Building Committee closer. But the next facing page is facing the Water Department side of the building. That's how it will look. And actually, the front of the building, that's exactly how it will look. Looking at the building right now, you'll never know there's an addition put on the back. You may see the elevator roof, but the rest of it will go out of sight. The next page is facing the south side, that's the street side. It's showing a little kitchen off the, there's gonna be a little cubby neck off the side of the building. We didn't have room to put it inside. And the next building is the back side, which shows the cellar will have windows in it, and the second floor roof attic area. There's going to be a large room, and there's windows on both sides of that. The next page is the new addition shows the dark lines. There's a new foundation that's going in there. To the bottom there is going to be possibly 1 or 2 rooms down there, depending how we divide it up for space. And the old cellar is not really usable for anything because it's kind of like a dirt floor. And there's crawl space under the old kitchen. The new kitchen will have a full cellar under it, will represent the mechanical room. The next floor is the first floor, and there again, the dark lines show the additions. The new addition will have the large room in it, where they will serve probably 60 to 70 people, will be able to sit in there comfortably. And the kitchen is off to one side. And all the way down the hallway there is a locked door. We have to go down the hallway because of the 2 bathrooms. And that will be locked off so that the senior center itself, those front rooms, if there was another organization using it, they'll be locked off. And the director's offices, we've added those on the side there. The 2 bathrooms were moved because one was over where the elevator was, so they had to be moved over there. And those other 3 rooms pretty much stay the same. On the second floor, well, we have because of the roof style and try to keep it so it didn't look like an enormous type building, square building. That room won't be as big as the room on the first floor, but it will be optional to either have 1 or 2 program rooms in there, depending on what they want to use it for. What we were able to do is add 2 rooms out of this, I believe 3 rooms on the side, going down the street side there, to give those the private offices is what the council wanted if you were talking with taxes on an individual, and it will give them the private room for blood pressures or any exams that they might have. Well, last time on the old building, they used the bathroom. And there's 2 of those rooms on the second floor that we made larger, so that they're more usable. The other pages here just shows you some of the inside of the Pope's Tavern. So I hope some of you, Thursday night, I believe, we're going to have an open house over there before we come over here. So if you haven't seen it, it'll be a good opportunity to see it. And then, of course, the COA, what will cost the town taxpayers, that came from Sandy. And then on the back page is a Council of Aging, a lot of the programs that they run, and I'm sure there's a lot more that we put out. Now, we're hoping that the Finance Committee will back the situation. I'm sure you've been informed of how that they're going to finance it from Sandy and everything. And what I would like to do, I don't know whether it's possible, is to have this booklet printed up and have it enclosed within the Finance Committee report. So it goes out to everybody in town. Is that possible, John?
Well, 2 problems. I don't know whether the printer is set to...
Well, the printer's gonna put a charge in for it, yes. But,
my immediate answer would be you're fine, as long as it's not actual surgery.
strictly informative.
No, that's where I'm going with.
Yeah, that's what I thought. As to how we're gonna spend the town's money.
Do you have the meeting minutes where Stu
I
had
think it should be
questions?
okay, but I want to check.
Can I answer any questions for everybody?
Stu
How
had-
many bathrooms would that be total within
There'll
your?
be 3 bathrooms, the 2 and the 4 are men and women. The bathroom on the second floor will be unisex. And actually, what we've actually done, we've almost 3 times enlarged the building over there, because legally, the first floor was the only floor that was legal to use. By adding the elevator in there, we've added the cellar, with the 2 rooms downstairs, the whole first floor, and now the entire second floor is all handicap accessible. And all the hallways and all the doorways will all be handicap accessible. So we actually tripled the size of the building. I mean, it's really, out of the 4 architect firms that we've worked with to rehab that building, it's definitely the best plan that it's come up with, and not enormously enlarged the footprint of the building, because we have a small lot over there. And we always will have parking problems over there, because there's just not enough land. Well, we only lost 4 spaces. And the front yard is gonna be made into kind of like a parking area, because we'll need it. So, I mean, it's the footprint of the building, and then triple the size of the use of the building inside. It's really a good plan.
John, I have a couple of questions. The $2 million estimate, I know the last time we met, that the number was very ambiguous, whether it would be 1.8, 2 million. Can we expect this 2 million to be a firm number, and does it include any and all site work that would be required for the project?
90% of it. What we did was at 1.8 million, because it was such a high figure, within the last month, what did include in that figure was the windows in the old section to be replaced. They are now included. And the heating system over there, the original heating system that's there, there's 2 burners, and it's really kind of screwed up, because the one burner does the front half of the building up and down, and the one burner does the second. So it's really, and that should all be straightened out. And those burners will be converted over to gas. They run on oil now, because the gas line will be right down next to the kitchen.
Okay, so that 2 million is a firm, you feel that's a firm number that's gonna include all site work, et
I
cetera?
hope it comes in under that when
Okay.
it goes out to bid.
While I have your attention, what is the existing square footage of the building?
Exactly, yeah. We were going out this very way.
2,300
2,300
roughly,
for the,
first, second, and third floor.
First- and what's the new section?
About 2,800.
Yeah.
So the new construction is gonna be 2,800, making the building 5,100 square feet.
Almost 6 if not.
Down the cellar area, yeah. That's where we ran into trouble, because we were hoping to stay under the 7,500, so we didn't have to sprinkle it. But the new rules and regulations include all the cellar and everything, and it put it up over, so we have to put sprinklers all the way through it.
John, just to answer your question, since there's no question on the ballot, there's no debt exclusion associated with this, it's fair game, you can go ahead, the town can spend money on sending this out.
You find me the money?
You're looking at the folks that have money.
Yeah, it's actually the same price per page as the bid price on the booklet.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna have to, I have an article at town meeting too, because we had 2 special town meetings this year, which we never assumed we're going to have. So I'm gonna have to go in and ask for a transfer for those, and I'll ask for a transfer for the additional cost for this.
Yeah, it's up to $500.
Finally, what efforts have been made by the building committee, the COA, direction from the selectmen, anybody who feels free to talk to this, to bring this budget more in line with the $750,000 that was proposed at the special town meeting?
Well, I think what happened, that was with a different architect, and when we put out bids for a new architect, it kind of came out when we did several designs and everything, and he said that he was gonna stay within that budget, and then it's kind of similar to what happened over the school, but before you know it, he came in with a 1.8.
Sure, and I understand that, that the architects all want to build their Taj Mahal, and they want their own edifice over there, and they want to put their signature on something. But what have we done as a community to reel them in?
Yeah, well, I think that the architect that gave us that figure, he was probably listening to me that I wanted to build an addition over there under $1 million, and he was hoping to do that, and everything, but between rising costs and things that had happened, and septic being moved and everything, it just boomeranged.
Sure.
One of the things the building committee did do, originally when the architect started talking about his design work, there was a tremendous amount of glass and expensive glass in the building. And the building committee shut that right down, said, listen, all we need is adequate glass. Don't let me speak for the building committee, but that's pretty much how it went. So the building committee really did a lot of work on this, and it's just runaway cost.
Yeah, sure, and I understand these municipal projects.
And to John's point, we thought we were gonna do the school for 1.5, and that was just totally unrealistic.
And actually, when we were interviewing the architects and the designers and whatnot too, we said we're basically gonna try to keep this 750, we might be able to go to 800. Oh, sure, yes we can, yes we can, yes we can, here's 1.8 mil.
Yeah, right.
And then everybody's
That's exactly
jaw-
how it went.
Actually, everybody's jaw just hit the floor. You know, when you said you could do this for 750, and here you are at 1.8.
Another thing we
His
did,
basic explanation was,
Yeah.
oops.
another thing, when we hit the 1.8, we said, well, we can't afford that, we don't want to spend that kind of money. So I went out and priced a steel building, and just for an example, to buy a 6,000 square foot steel building and put it on that dock right out there would be $2 million. And that's without doing a lot of inside furnishing. And then when we did the 4 years ago, when we were gonna tear down the police station over there and put a building on there and even use maybe part of the old thing, that was 2.5 million, and that was 3 years ago. So, I mean, I don't like this price, I wanted to keep it around $1 million, but it's coming to the time when how many times are we gonna kick this project around? We got a good way to fund it now, where the town seems to be a little flush with money to do a capital project. Let's put this thing to bed, let's build it. It will be a nice building when it's done, and it's certainly gonna be just 3 times the room for the COA, it's gonna give privacy, and it's gonna make a building, a town-owned building. If we build a steel building someplace else, we still own that building. So you still make it handicap accessible sometime down the line if you didn't sell it.
I just want to clarify one statement you made. The town seems flush this year.
Oh, I don't know.
And
Yeah,
this is a very small snapshot.
Yeah.
Usually, we're looking at very tight numbers. This year, due to some things that, one-time expense costs that we've reduced, the communications, the drop of enrollment at Silver Lake, some increase in cherry sheet numbers, we do have some extra money this year. Our concern is a long-term effect on the town. If we sign up for this project within the levy limit, we are setting ourselves up, if we have a very lean year, that this project could impact other departments and how they function. So we do have to take that into consideration. We can't look at being flush this year as a 10-year or a 20-year like it's in the note here. State.
Well, I understand that, it's like running a business,
Yeah.
you know, one year I have a real good year, the next year's a lousy
Right.
year, and it's hard to make that up.
Yep.
But you have to make that decision of when is the best time to do a capital
Certainly.
project, you know what I mean?
I just wanted to make the point that one of the reasons we have the ability to do it this year inside the levy is that we are fiscally conservative. We do not spend everything every year that we could potentially spend, assuming town meeting went along with it.
Right.
But it's been cumulative, and I think now is the time that we have an opportunity to potentially do this. I mean, we could go out and bond it, but I don't think we need to. I mean, that's you guys.
We would still have to bond this.
Excuse me, I meant to go debt exclusion. I misspoke, I apologize.
So just one point that I'd like to make is that we debt excluded the school roof project along with the windows and the siding. So that's not going to hit your tax bill this year. A portion of that will hit it next year,
Right.
and the year afterwards it will hit. So we're adding, if this project goes through, we're adding a lot of capital costs to the budget. And because we have room under the levy this year, doesn't mean that the tax bills won't go up by very much this year with this project going forward. But in 2 years, you're gonna see a 6 to 7% increase in your tax bill. It's gonna happen because those debt exclusion's gonna hit.
There's no question that there's expensive. It just comes down to what John said. Do we keep kicking this can down the road? Do we try to do something now when we have the possibility of doing it? It really gets that simple. It's the best use of an asset that we already own. This is by far the best plan that's been presented at any time. It's a lot of money. I don't want to dismiss that part of it, but it's a good plan to use that building. It gets us a lot of space for what we've got to spend. And we now know that our numbers are obviously unrealistic. As much as we thought they were pretty good at the time, again, enough I want to keep referring back to the school project, but who thought that was going to come in with the kind of money it came in, even with reimbursement?
Mel called the roof cost.
Just another point on the
Well, it's
drawing.
not just a roof.
No. I mean, he called what we had for a number, and he said,
It was within 100,000.
yeah.
That's good.
But this is about the 5th rendition of these drawings. Every time you come back with numbers, we throw them out. And then you come back with another design. What we did look at, we tried to get the numbers down further. So for a smaller sized building, I think it came in with $1.3 million, which we felt was useless for the county. What they gained was really nothing. So we had this is the best of all the drawings, all the different renditions of what we have. This works. Everything else really didn't. For costs that were below the $1.8 million, it wasn't worth doing.
You weren't getting any impact
No.
for that money. And I mean, that's,
Nothing would have been gained.
and that's the building committee's decision to put the best foot forward, so to speak, and we certainly appreciate any efforts you've made to try and save the taxpayers money.
So one question I have, does this include the cost of the items that need to be purchased for inside the building?
It includes kitchen items and that, but the Generations has been raising money for the last 4, 5, 6 years, almost for a new building. You know, and most of that money will go into tables, chairs, whatever they would take to fill it in.
So this
There's
includes,
not a lot of new items that you gotta do. We've added rooms and everything, but there's small desks that go in them and a chair. And the only thing that is anything, the kitchen room.
John,
They said 60
we
people.
debated these selectmen chairs for half an hour on top.
Yes. But the Generations is gonna pick up a lot of that.
Now, John, the existing rooms, are they gonna be renovated? Is that included in this?
They will be updated. There's, I believe we have carpet, we have money for carpet anyway, and things like that. And the
So they'll be
painting will done.
updated?
Yeah, because we have to run some heat duct pipes around, and there's walls coming down and there's walls going up.
Okay.
So,
Do you have any lead paint remediation in this cost?
I don't believe, well, we've been through that about 6 times over there, so hopefully we don't run
Okay.
into it.
Okay. Because I know that was a cost for the outside of this building. It was an increase on the,
Yeah, that was the old clapboard.
Yeah.
That was
You
the
know,
original.
yeah, the outside of the clapboards, Jerry's done the front and the back. So that was also what I added in the last month. They weren't gonna be done, the sides weren't gonna be done. So now they're going to be done. So it will all match, and it will be all new clapboard, so we shouldn't have that problem.
The materials you're using, John, in the project, are they low-maintenance materials like cementers?
We hope to, we have a hardy board, yeah, I don't know if the real clapboards are not, or hardy board, but we put real on the front, right, Jerry? We put hardy-
Right.
Yeah,
So there'll be cement boards on the,
cement board, so that's what we'll go on the side.
And that is factored into the cost, the
Yes.
right.
upgrading materials.
AZAC and everything else along the corners and rakes. and
That's like when we did the police station, that was done in '95, when we haven't touched those clapboards since.
Kendra, do you have the list of questions that Stu had asked?
When did you ask them?
He asked me the last time I was over here,
Yeah.
Okay.
and he asked us, well, what's the electricity gonna cost us, for example? And Jerry put some figures together, and I think within the last year, it's like $3,000, $2,800. You're gonna cost you more for electricity because we have to put a whole new electrical panel in to run the elevator. So you're gonna be using more power. Then he asked for the oil burner maintenance, and we're gonna replenish them, and we're gonna put new windows in there, so it's gonna be more efficient, but you're gonna be heating 3 times more space than you were before. So, I mean, there's going to be more cost to run it, the building's gonna be bigger. You can't run a bigger building for less money. If you could figure that out, come out of my house, will you?
But even if you were to build another building, you still have to apply heat to this building and heat another building. I mean, it's,
I mean, it's kind of like we've been out 15 years trying to figure out what to do with that building, how to make it bigger and more effective for the COA. And it's one of those things, you know, we looked at Arm's building, that didn't work out, it was too big. Then we looked at the water building, you know, we looked at the restaurant, and that got voted down. We looked at tearing down the police station and putting another building on there, and they're all over $2 million, you know? It's really discouraging because it doesn't look that much.
And during those 15 years too, the cost of construction has gone crazy over the last 15 years. And again, the longer you, to use the terminology, kick the can down the road, your costs are going up, your costs are going up, they're certainly not gonna go down.
But I think if you look at it, I was watching the paper and the town of Clifton, I think, is building a police station. And it's a pretty small building, it's about the size of our old police station, and they're looking at $3 million. You know, to build next to a school down there. And the town of East Bridgewater, they gotta add on to the library, and that was 17 million, I think. I mean, the figures are ridiculous. You know, I mean, I think for this price, you'll get a real good building and real usable for a number of years.
I think that contractor too that John had spoken with about the steel building, when he was putting up a commercial structure, he said just triple it. If it's a municipal project, just triple the cost.
That's a low
That was
number.
just
I think that's a
blanket.
low number.
Yeah, that's just a blanket, triple it.
Yeah, he says, because the paperwork is so exhausting to deal with municipalities.
So the total sum of the payments over 20 years comes up to $2,892,500. That implies a 1.86-ish interest rate.
I think I would refer that to Sandy.
What did you ask?
The total sum of the payments for 20 years implies a 1.86 interest rate. Is that, number one, is that right? Number two, is that,
All right, this is estimated, I believe, at a 4.5% interest rate. And that would be the interest that would be paid
4.5?
each year.
okay. And is that number volatile? I'm not sure I'm municipal.
Usually
This
it's,
is-
once we bond it, it's
Right.
a fixed
Right.
bond.
So it could change a little before then, but we've gotten this from our bond council, this
Okay.
estimate.
And the Fed raising their rates.
I don't know how-
Which means the sooner that we bonded it, the sooner, the lower the rate's going to be. But I'm in agreement with you in that if the feds continue to raise the rates, we'll see municipal rates go up. It's just a fact of life. And this is one of the reasons why we want to get the school project done.
Right. Okay.
Sandy, real quick, the levy sheet that you handed out earlier, that you want to present at town meeting floor, just taking 2016's number of 14.4 times 2.5%, we're looking at 360,000 kind of as the new levy available year to year. Is that a fair statement?
376 this year, next year it'll be more.
It'll be more, obviously.
Right, because it's
So-
always 2.5% over a higher thing.
So realistically, in the first 5 years, we'd be looking at half that new levy limit being consumed by this project. If it's 376 next year and the first payment's 185.
Yeah, that's a possibility.
Okay.
But you have to figure in new growth.
Right, but we have other things that we're funding with those, that if we're taking a big portion of this, for this project inside the levy, I just want to be clear that we're signing up for this inside the levy.
Right.
this could have an effect on other departments. And that realistically, for the first 5 years at least of this project, we'd be eating up 50% of that
Just
increase in
one,
the...
just 1 year's increase.
Yes, because what you're going
But
to,
like in year one, it's 185 and the increase is 376.
Right.
The next year it's 180 and maybe it's 390, but it's
Yeah,
still
but
just...
No, just the first year.
because you.
Because once it's in the levy, so your levy limit, once it's in the tax levy, we've spent that money. The next year, the levy limit grows above that.
Right, by 2.5%.
So it's 376 this year, next year it'd be 390.
So
Right.
now you've got 760 of increases in the levy between the 2 years, but you're still only spending $185,000.
On this one project, the other projects are gonna
Right.
eat up
Right,
the rest of
but
it.
it's not 50% of each year's levy.
But of the increase in the
No,
levy.
No,
Just 1 year's
Just 1 year.
increase.
All right.
And this will not affect the FY18 budget,
Right.
as would be being built during that. We wouldn't be bonding until most likely FY19.
Right, so the point we're trying to make is that this year's tax bill, if the numbers are correct, I had Sandy double check them, it looks like it would be somewhere around a level funded tax bill. Maybe a little less, depending upon what happens at town meeting. But in the next year or the following year, you are going to see anywhere from 5 to 7% increase in your tax bill. So that's what you're signing up when the town meeting votes. That's what they're signing up for, is we're gonna spend, we're gonna do work, but we're not going to see the bill for probably 2 cycles. And it's gonna be a large increase.
Part of that's for the school too.
Right,
yes,
That's
right.
not just for this.
Right.
Two projects
Right,
together.
I just want to make sure everybody understands.
Does anybody else have any questions? What was the, were you here 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago?
3 weeks ago, because last week was a holiday.
I think it was opening day.
I think it was opening day, actually. You're right, it was. It was a great game. April meeting.
Third.
3rd.
Did you
Sure.
say that the site work was included in the 2 million or not?
Yeah, most of it should be included. We may have to do a little bit by the town. It'll be the highway, it won't be, it depends, the actual design on the parking hasn't been determined yet, because we're just trying to get the building on the site first. But a lot of it, there'll probably be a dirt parking lot, and then down the line, probably, depends on, maybe the project will bring enough money where we could tie it. It depends on what the actual figures come in at.
So when you build a building, there isn't, for the square footage of the building, there's not a law that says you need so many parking spots?
Not on a senior center, I don't believe. If you were running a restaurant or something like that, they require.
Retail there is.
Retail space too.
I think you do, John, I think
Yeah.
you're going to want to involve the planning board in this as far as site plan review, because I
Okay.
believe even for municipal buildings, site plan review is required. So. I'm not
Well, you have to
saying-
go before the planning board anyways.
Right, but that would be part of site
Right.
plan, and so that they may waive any parking requirements, but
Yeah,
there may
okay.
be,
Yeah.
And the completion time is?
Completion time, if it passes a town meeting,
8 months.
you're talking, probably 10 to 12 weeks for construction plans to be done. And then probably a 6 to 8 week bidding process. And then another process of determining the bids. So whoever would get started before the first of next year, depending on how late it came, whether they want to, when it came in. It would probably be 6 to 8 months of ready to start. after all the bidding and all the paperwork and everything's done, where if it was maybe in December or January, we might not want to start a project, then we might wait till, the weather broke a little bit, because we'll have to have staging areas and digging the foundation, that's the first thing to go in. So we're probably looking at first of the year, a little after, before the actual start of construction, if it passes.
What impact is the construction going to have on the day-to-day operations of the senior center during the construction?
That's going to be a problem. I figure that we're probably looking at 6 months of relocating them somewhere. We tried to figure out if we could, and we still will, if they can stay there through foundation phase of the new construction. And maybe framing it, work with the architect so that we get them out of there as little as possible. But when we start going into the renovation of the new building, and a lot of it is going to be, when the foundations and everything, the kitchen's got to move, the gas is going to change. So you're looking at probably 5 to 6 months of seniors being out of this someplace.
What's the council's feeling as to a relocation plan during this time?
Whatever it takes,
So we give them some thought to it, as to where they might go. I mean, maybe Great Hall, put some petitions up there, and they'll have to look out of there. There has been several thoughts, and we work with the architect on that a little bit too. And then say, well, let's get the project, and we'll find some place to put it.
Yeah, I certainly don't want to put the cart before the horse, but I just wanted to make sure that it had been discussed.
We have worked on it, we have talked about it, yeah.
Does anybody else have any comments or questions?
There is no perfect project. There is no perfectly inexpensive project. There is no perfectly convenient project. It just gets down to the will to want to do it and then do it. And that's really going to be up to town meeting at the end of the day, whether the citizens want to support it or not. Our job is to present it, the building committee's job, as I see it, not that I'm on the building committee, is to present the problems and present solutions and see if they make sense to anybody and if people are willing to fund it.
Okay. Yep.
One thing that I'd like to stress is, I don't think you people have been over, or most of you, through the senior center. And next week,
Thursday night, we have an open house start over there with a meeting upstairs.
because you're gonna see a lot of problems, just brush it off now, but the problems are real, and if something isn't done, there's many officials in the town that I've talked to about the problems. And one of them is using the upstairs. And you need an elevator, so that's a big chunk of the money that we're gonna spend. Because you can't get up there practically any other way. We had, and it's a steep staircase, the old fashioned one. Your kitchen, you can't prepare meals for 20 people and do it right. And I know that we've been up to 40, 60 people, you can't get them in there. So you have to go in settings or whatever. And other functions that are going on, and other people say, we look over there, there's nobody there. Well, you get 15 people in a room, and you can't move, how many people do you expect you're going to get over there? Well, we have some real nice programs going on right now with the school children around and other things that are going on. We had some real good top painters, oil painters. They can't make it upstairs, so they had to go to other towns around or just drop out altogether. And things of that type. You see the woman that comes in and does the toenail, she sits on the floor in the bathroom doing your toenails. I mean, come on. There are things that there are things that have to be done, and you can't take a wheelchair in there. There's a lot of things against it. I've been told some other names about it, I'll tell you about it when I public. But, no, seriously.
I know.
Seriously with the fire chief and different ones. So, we've been trying for this now for 15 years. It was cheaper in the beginning, yeah. But we wait 15 years, and now everything hit it this year, and we still need something. And there's a lot of good programs, and I wish you people would come and visit it and see for yourselves exactly what we're saying.
Yeah, one of the things I wanted to bring up was, I've heard a lot of comments about there's never any cars there, looks like hardly anybody is in there. I think what people don't realize is we have vans that go around and pick up people that don't drive. So what you see in the parking lot is not always what's going on inside that building, because they'll drop off people to, stay there, work at events, be a part of the different programs that are there. So it can be really deceiving. There's times where it looks like, wow, there's hardly anybody here, and you walk in, and there's a lot of people here, all doing different things,
I think we kind of realize all the problems over there, and we're trying to stress it now. I think what we're doing now is trying to get a vote at town meeting to make it more accessible. And I know the printers has got quite a bit of work today, or this week to put out. And I'd like to put your name in there so townspeople know that if this does go out, that you're backing it too. If you decide not to back it and make a recommendation at town meeting, fine, that's okay too. I'll just kind of close that space up and don't put your name there backing it in the book. And you can do that at town meeting. But I just know the printer has a tough schedule and he's gonna have to go to press tomorrow for it to be in, because the finance committee book goes in the mail Friday. So that's being printed. Actually, it's all printed, it's just being bound now.
Yeah, one thing that just sticks in my mind all the time is putting good money after bad money out all the time. I mean, how much money have we spent in architects overall this year?
Don't ask.
I know, it's embarrassing, and just to have to do it all over again, or just throw our hands up and forget it, and, it's just not right. Because what other projects have we hired architects for and not gone along with it? How many times have we done this?
Too many times. So anyways, give it some serious thought. We won't take any more of your time tonight. And hopefully give me a call in the morning. And we'll go from there. And hopefully we can put this over and maybe put something to bed that we've been trying an awful long time to do. And then I can retire.
John, what time's the tour on Thursday?
Sorry, what time is it?
6:30.
6:30. And then the meeting's over here, right?
Yes, well, and I'm working on space because Mount Ponson Watershed Association also meets at night, usually at the Great Hall, but so I have signage, either we'll be here or we'll be in the Great Hall. I'll have signage at the door directing people.
Okay, well, we can have it in the kitchen over there. That'll do.
Yes, we can do that.
That'll work.
All right, thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, John.
Tommy, we have a couple questions about the debt exclusion for the sprinkler system too, if you want to start. Thank you.
I love them. You were getting up that fast. Have a seat where you think you're going. Look behind the column.
This is the town hall.
Towards the right.
When the cameras were
But
set
the
up over there.
camera's set up,
I
they're pointing
know,
right at you
but
now.
It's a comfort spot for me. It's tradition. When the cameras were there in particular, it was great. Except my daughter says I have a bucket head, so it didn't work.
I know where you are.
So, we had a question on debt exclusion for the fire suppression system, and whether or not the selectmen had discussed that and talked about putting that within the levy as well.
In general terms, I don't recall specifically saying we wanted to put it in.
Well, we put the question on the ballot.
Yeah, and we were looking to do debt exclusion on that, yeah.
So is there a reason you're looking to do debt exclusion on that?
For exactly everything you came up with earlier. To leave some room in the levy in case we needed it.
I know personally I'm opposed to leaving it outside the levy. I think that we've got the levy limit so high now.
This is why we have a finance committee to debate it.
Where we put the...
I know there was some discussion about putting some or all of the school debt inside the levy. I did not think that was a good idea at the time, for the obvious reasons. To leave some room. We thought that if we in fact were to vote, if the town was to vote for the $2 million, we would use up a good portion of that levy. And we were trying to leave ourselves some space, thinking that if we needed it for future issues. This year we had the issue with the school where special ed came in some $250,000 over. I think that's actually come down some. For those kinds of emergencies. Most of them you can plan for, that's one you can't, because you just don't know, obviously, you know.
The only issue with that is that particular instance is once the budget's set in September, you really can't do anything with the levy anyways at that point in time.
My recollection of that meeting also, when we initially discussed putting part or all of the roof project inside the levy, because of the multiple factors we talked about, we decided to leave it as printed. I know I personally said that I would not vote for anything that was not included inside the levy if we decided to go with the fire suppression system. And I felt that both boards were in agreement that it was a fair compromise, that the fire suppression system and security be within the levy, and that the school renovation project be outside the levy. So that we were just concerned with adding that outside the levy.
For me personally, and I can only speak for myself at this point, because obviously I'm the only one here, I don't have a problem with it either way. Whatever fits. The only concern was when we started seeing the numbers for the potential projects across the street, we started getting concerned that maybe we're using up too much of the levy, that's all. So we wanted to leave that on the ballot in case we decided to go that way.
With Sandy's updated spreadsheet tonight, with the union articles that aren't included with our recommendations, because we haven't seen those finalized contracts yet. It's listed at $48,000. For the security system, it's listed at $50,000. Overlay at $100,000. And tax title at $10,500. $100,000 for the reserve. And the total articles, so the top right-hand corner of the spreadsheet. So if you include in, so from that point on, we have $576,000 in excess
Let
levy.
me approach the bench, Your Honor, I can get my glasses.
Oh,
Now I can actually see.
so on the top right-hand corner of the sheet. So Article 4 basically is everything the Finance Committee has recommended. The next one's the reserve fund. Union articles estimated at $48,000. Security system listed at $50,000. Question on that, Sandy? Security system.
Yeah,
Where was that money coming from?
we were going to do a raise and appropriate.
Meals tax?
Meals tax is about 70,000.
Do we have meals tax included in this number?
I did, I put it all in there, so.
Okay, because it wasn't before, that's why.
Right, it wasn't before, but neither was the 50,000.
Right,
So
that's
now
why.
I'll put both of them in.
Okay. So, all totaling right now, we have an estimated surplus of $576,000. If you include $185,000 for the Council on Aging first year payment,
Yep.
and $1 million for the fire suppression. Not a million, yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
92,500 for the $1 million debt payment for the fire suppression. It leaves us with $300,000 of excess capacity, which is, double what we had this year.
Like I said, for myself, I don't have a problem. We put it on the article, as I recall, to leave the option open, depending on how it all panned out before we went to town.
I'm just concerned about raising the levy so high and then us actually hitting the levy in 2 years and seeing everyone's tax bills skyrocket by 7%. Because you could estimate that, this year's tax bill is gonna be pretty close to this year's tax bill. I mean, it's gonna be the first year where we've seen the tax bill actually stay the same.
Flat out. Yeah.
So 55, 23? Thanks for updating my numbers, by the way, Bill. So the current tax bill is 5516. So 516. If we go 2.5% next year, next year we'd be at 5653. The following year, if we went to that levy, just the 2.5% increase, would be at 5795. Then you're gonna get the debt exclusions all on top. So that's what I'm concerned about. Because with this year, the levy could go to 5710. So just those, so it's a 5710 times 25. It's 142 times 2. So 285 plus 5710. You're looking at $6,000 for the average home in town in 2 years without the debt exclusions. If you go
Factoring in new growth and...
No, just straight up 2.5%, because that's...
If we go 2.5%, if we go to the levy.
Right, so...
And we typically do not go to the levy.
We typically go to 2.5%. We've been leaving a portion... I mean, this is the only year that we've seen our state aid increase for Chapter 70, 160,000. I'm assuming next year we're gonna see like $4,000, our average increase. I mean, and that's only because of the change in population shift between region and elementary school. So, while every other, Silver Lake District is only getting about $18,000 in increased aid, and they're actually seeing a decrease because of charter school tuition. So, I would hope the selectmen would recommend to put that within the levy and not do a debt exclusion for those two.
Like I said, my recollection at the time was, and my thought process was, to leave the option open, because if we didn't put it in, we wouldn't have been able to. So, if it works, it works. Put the numbers together, and when we meet the next time, we can take a look at it and make a decision.
Okay. I know you worked hard with the building committee on this project. Is this the best set of drawings that you've seen, the best project that's come before all the other things?
It is the best design plan I've seen, the best use of the existing building, the smallest footprint, taking aside numbers. As far as the plan itself goes, I thought it blended the building the best. It's not overly ostentatious. That's one of the problems, and I think it was alluded to earlier. Architects have a tendency to build monuments to themselves. And when we first saw the first rendition, I mean, the glass alone was $300,000. It was ridiculous. But I don't think anybody could have come up with a better plan to utilize the existing building and blend this in so it doesn't look awful. One of the plans years ago had a oblong shaped building that covered, I don't know, 3 times the space. It was awful. This is as good as it gets, in my humble opinion. Again, the numbers aside, none of the numbers are good. I hate them all. But it is what it is. The industry is what it is. Everybody's busy. Numbers are always skewed because it's a municipality. We have to deal with the prevailing wage. We have to deal with an OPM. It just goes on and on. The regulations that are set upon us.
Have the selectmen reached out to our elected officials and asked them?
There is potentially some money available, but we don't know how the timing's gonna work out, or if the money's actually gonna be funded. We supposedly have some insight or some possibility. I think it's 200,000, correct me if I'm wrong, John.
Reached out, I'm still waiting for get a reply whether that money's still going to be available either before June 30th or whether it might still be available after June 30th.
There was no guarantee of it, but at least we were in contention for it. So
There's also 100,000 that is in the bond for the landfill that was never used. So we bonded a certain amount, there's 100,000 left over. We can only use that 100,000 for another bond of equal length of debt. So, or more. So this was a 15-year debt. We're going to, if the Council on Aging goes through it, a 20-year debt, we can use that 100,000 from
So are we
the
paying?
landfill.
Have we been paying on the 100,000 that we didn't borrow?
We're paying on the bond. We borrowed the whole money, the whole amount. But that 100,000 has been sitting there.
So the short answer to your question is yes.
Yes.
Because we borrowed the full amount.
But you can't use it to pay back. You can only use up to 50,000 to pay back the debt.
So basically, when the last payment would come due, they would credit us the 100,000 and we'd make.
No, we don't. No. We can't.
We can only use it on another bond of equal length, another project.
They took a
And we are
loan for $1
bonding
million and
equal
only needed
length or more.
900,000 and pocketed the 100.
Yeah.
But you're paying interest on that 100.
Correct.
But what
Until you
what
use
I'm
it.
asking is the 100 that's left,
Yes.
the very last payment.
We can't use it.
We're gonna receive the 100 back and then we're gonna pay
No, the
the
100's sitting in our.
They already have it.
It's already
right
in there.
now.
Yeah.
But we can't spend it.
We can't spend it on
that
anything.
particular bond. We can use it to fund other projects that we're bonding that have a bond length that is either equal, which is 15 years for a landfill,
Right.
or greater, which would include the Council on Aging project.
So we can use the 100,000 towards this project.
So basically, we'd be bonding 1.9 million.
Oh, yeah, assuming we didn't have any other funds. So for instance,
Right.
if the state didn't throw any money in or anything like that.
And how did the 300,000 play into it? How did,
300,000.
you
Well,
mentioned,
the 200 from the state, if we can have that, and the 100,000
Right.
from.
300 total? Okay.
Right. So we're using a figure of 2 million for the bond estimate. But we will only bond what we need to bond. So we will wait until the project's done and then bond it all. What we do is we borrow in anticipation of the bond. It's called the bond anticipation note. So we borrow short term until the project's completed, and then we bond the full amount. So if we have the 100,000 from here and 200,000 from the state, we bond that much less. We bond 1.7, and those figures would just be that much less.
Tom, how confident are you in the $2 million number? I know the architect came in at 1.8. You add 10% kind of as a general rule in the trades, and then you're right at the 2 million.
Here's the problem as I saw it. We have money available to do the plans, the build plans. But the thought process, which I agreed with, was that if we spent that money now and didn't get the article to pass, then we've wasted the money.
Certainly.
So we're going with the best estimate guess, to be pretty honest about it. I think it's reasonable. There is some things, John started to allude to it, but I know he didn't want to commit to it. There's some of the site stuff we might be able to take care of through
in-house.
In-house, which is what I've been kind of advocating for. But, you know, that's up to the highway surveyor. We're not sure who that is at this point, so it's hard to make any of those kind of guesstimates. Hopefully, and I would expect that we'd get some cooperation for some of the site work, like a tank needs to be moved. We should be able to do that in-house. We're gonna have to buy a tank, but at least the excavating. The parking spaces, we've looked out front, we were looking to pick up the 4 that we lost, which I think is incredibly great. I mean, to only lose 4 spaces, granted we're tight with parking over there to begin with, but we looked at some other areas over there to add additional parking. Nobody wants to commit to anything until we know what we're doing. But I'm reasonably comfortable with the 2 million. 1.8 was the estimate. Building committee kind of threw it and said, hey, look, let's go for the 2. And hopefully it all comes in less.
Yeah, no, and that's everybody's hope, obviously.
But, you know, to John's point, the longer we wait, the worse it's going to get. And to answer your question as directly as possible, yeah, I'm reasonably confident.
Okay.
That's a definite maybe.
Yeah, kind of probably.
No. That's a positive. This is like a 30%. It works every time.
Well, the thing is, if you know, we still have options. If the bids come in terrible, I mean, we can take another look at it. You know.
Mm.
But we haven't wasted that $60,000. That was the real.
Yeah, I mean, Joy spoke very eloquently to that, how much time and effort and money we've put into developing plans.
Over the years, yeah.
We didn't really get a direct answer. Do you know how much Generations has saved?
I do not know. That's not under my purview.
Okay.
You're a private organization.
I mean, they do have furniture. We kind of tossed it around a little bit. Generation said that they did raise some money. We'll continue to raise some money for the extra things that they need. The kitchen's going to be the big thing, and that's already included. And incidentally, I think it came up at the last meeting, but we're not talking about a full commercial kitchen here. You know, the big extravagance is to have 2 electric ranges as opposed to 1, which makes sense when you consider
the volume.
Yeah, and you know, commercial kitchens for the average person are much more difficult to operate. You know, big gas appliances, Vulcans, and that kind of stuff. That was never a consideration. It was always keep it basic, keep it simple, but functional.
Okay, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept as presented.
So, do we have the article?
What do you need?
The article itself.
You guys meet tomorrow night,
Just the
Tom?
warrant.
Yes.
It's not a special, right?
21.
Charlie, is there room in tomorrow night's selectmen's meeting to discuss the fire suppression system being within the levy?
Oh, the board of selectmen and its infinite wisdom have placed the entire town meeting on the agenda.
Yes,
Is that-
we're infinitely wise.
Is that the 4:30 meeting?
No, that's, because the 4 o'clock meeting
4 o'clock.
is not, I'm not considering a meeting per se, as in simply a working session.
Okay.
And I don't even know that I'll have a quorum of the board. No, the 7:30 is the official meeting for the board, and that's, and the town meeting's on the agenda.
Okay.
That would include all the subjects concerning the town meeting.
Sandy, would it be possible to share with the selectmen this balance sheet that
Absolutely,
indicates how much will be left in the levy?
absolutely. I'll make sure they all have it.
Tom, would it be possible
Now we can show up.
to let the selectmen know how the finance committee feels? Because
I believe that's possible, yes.
Everyone will get something?
so Article 21 is to see if the town will vote to appropriate, borrow, or transfer from available funds the sum of $2 million to be expended under the direction of the Halifax Municipal School Building Committee for repairs, renovation, and expansion of Pope's Tavern, including the building, associated infrastructure, and grounds located at 506 Plymouth Street, including but not limited to any architectural, engineering, administrative work associated with this project, or take any action thereof. So, you move to recommend? Is there a second?
A second.
Discussion?
Just to be clear, the wording allows it to be spent within the levy, correct?
Yes.
So,
Once-
it doesn't say debt exclusion in the,
Yeah, because the motion can be done either way, with the debt exclusion or without.
so, it's being recommended within the levy. Further discussion? All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Is that everyone? Okay. And then, so Article 22, see if the town will vote to transfer 70,000 from the municipal and school, so we'll make that recommendation on town meeting floor if the other article fails.
Do we need to let John know that
No,
those
call him.
articles are
I
going to be
think
together?
between the two people here, John will find out.
We'll make sure he knows.
He's called my house a few times.
Yeah, he probably will anyways. I can't keep up with him.
Gordon, you know,
I had a couple of
sitting in your
those calls.
driveway right now.
He probably could be.
I think he's probably in the parking lot.
Like, it's even easier.
So tomorrow's meeting, Charlie, it might be late to that 4, because I have to take Colleen to the doctor's,
Well, yeah, the problem is that
and I have to leave early.
yes. Well, we'll move this along, won't we now? Well, John Pruitt said he might come in late, I just told me gossip, so. So we'll just move along.
Okay. Did we do 20? The 50,000 for the...
Yes,
Okay. So we didn't do 22.
you're lucky I found that.
We haven't done
They were numbered
22. And then the other one would be to move the fire suppression within the levy. That's 19? 19, to see if the town will vote to appropriate, borrow, or transfer from available funds $977,000 to be expended under the direction of the Halifax School Building Committee for repairs and renovations to the Halifax Elementary School located at 464 Plymouth Street, including but not limited to the fire suppression system,
Easy, it's not.
including but not limited to any architectural, engineering, and administrative work associated with this project, or take any action thereof. So the way that that's worded is not a debt exclusion. Correct, Charlie?
Yeah, but again, for the, because we're talking on the board certainly has the power to decide, to make it move with the motion on town meeting floor.
So we could just vote a recommendation tonight to, if we vote it this way, if we recommend it with this wording, it would be within the levy.
Well, what I would do is I would recommend to you that you recommend yes, contingent that it is not contingent on a debt exclusion.
Okay.
So you'd be very specific. I mean, if the board, because if my board changes their, differs with you tomorrow, you're on the record one way, that, we'll continue talking, we've still got time between now and town meeting.
I would make a motion to approve Article 9, or recommend Article 19, see if the town will vote to appropriate, borrow, or transfer from available funds $977,000 to be expended under the direction of the Halifax School Building Committee for repairs and renovations to the Halifax Elementary School located at 464 Plymouth Street, including but not limited to the fire suppression system, including but not limited to any architectural, engineering, and administrative work associated with this project, or take any other action relative thereto, contingent on this project not being funded by debt exclusion.
Is there a second?
A second. I was worded by now.
Is there further discussion? All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Yes. Okay, it's unanimous.
No, I'm not.
Okay.
All right, so that's done. So the only one that we haven't done is the article if the $60,000 or $70,000 needs to be voted on.
Well, do we
22,
wanna-
right?
Do we vote on the water department?
No, so we didn't vote on the water department. We said that we would find out at town meeting floor
Oh,
if
that's
they
right.
had
Yeah,
any
yeah.
changes. I am still concerned about that.
Thank you.
I'm not sure that they have enough money in that line after.
Yeah, even with the water, even with the reserve, I mean, they're right up against that number.
With the reserve at 25, that if they
Right,
hit,
even with the 125, we're looking at 135 just between the sludge and the filter media.
What happens if we up the reserve, but they don't use it and happens that way?
so their money is an enterprise system, so it would just go back to the retained earnings. So I would think if they have updated numbers for us, we could make a recommendation at town meeting to change that reserve fund to a different number, or change that line. We did put the town on notice by putting the letter in the book that we're unsure of that. So I would think that would be enough to allow us to
We'll
double.
run that by John, but I don't think you're wrong. I don't think you could double it.
No, but double the reserve possibly
Yeah,
to
possibly,
50.
absolutely.
I mean, just listening to the numbers, if they have to replace any of that. I mean, the valve is $30,000 that they listed on there, and we didn't even talk about that, so.
Yeah.
Handle that at one town meeting night. Anything else that we need to handle?
Charlie, do
You'll
we have
have
a week
some
without
special, you'll have some
reserve
special town
fund?
meeting articles.
Yeah.
Once we have all the specifics on those and the contract articles.
Yeah, I guess it's, I'm gonna pick my poison. I can either come back to you all next week, because I have two bills now, or I can wait until town meeting. I mean, I'm gonna have to ask for money in town meeting anyway, one way or the other, because I'll still have May and June to pay. And we'll just deal with, the back.
Okay.
With the conversation.
Okay. So our next meeting is scheduled.
May 1st.
So it would just be, are there any other departments that we have questions for that we haven't discussed? Any other open items that we're forgetting about?
So we had OPEB on the agenda, did we?
Oh,
Missed
okay,
that.
yeah. So we haven't gone through that. So everyone got an update and everyone got a handout tonight. So the $35,000 that we're recommending, again, is just a shot in the bucket. I think next year we need to sit down with the selectmen and talk about whether or not we should really start aggressively funding this. Looking at the normal cost, looking at the retiree cost, and looking at the projections. We'll have an updated retirement schedule too, sometime in the next few months. Just looking at the normal cost, it's pretty scary. The previous annual service cost, the annual benefit accrual, was $449,000 from the June of 2014 audit. It is now $693,000. So the cost went up by $200,000 per year.
50% increase.
Yeah, and we're funding $35,000 at that. And I know that we fund right now the at cost.
We do pay as you go.
Right.
So
Pay
every
as you
year
go.
we pay, and that's quite high. And then we do a 35,000 extra to go in the trust.
So I think that we need to look at the long-term plan of what we should be doing. I mean, we are investing that money. We have an OPEB team. We should probably meet pretty soon. I think we're supposed to
Yeah,
meet.
but the reports in, probably.
I'll have to check when we met with them last.
I think it was in August.
Okay.
So I would just put on the agenda for the summer, a meeting with the selectmen to talk about OPEB and talk about whether or not we're going to try to fund it more so than the 35 and pay as you go. Because the increased obligation is growing faster than what we'd be able to afford.
Yeah, you should see at least a dip the next time we do this, next time the audit comes out. Reason is we're moving the retirees from MX3 to MX2, will be a decrease in rates, and then of course they'll still go up. But one of the reasons why this got hit was that we had such a significant increase in the regular rates, and we still had a lot of retirees on the regular plans. And so when those rates took hold, then in essence the assumption was all our other rates, not that the increase would continue at that rate, but that instead of the line being here, now the line's up here. You had a new starting point that was higher than the old starting point. Whereas with medics, we're going from this down to there, starting on July 1st. So, well, I'm not disagreeing with anything you say, but it may be that we'll have a little bit of relief in those horrible numbers the next time the audit's done. But yeah, I mean, if we're actually going to make an attempt to, it will not be funded in my lifetime. We just don't have that type of money available. But if we want to make a serious attempt to fund some of it, yeah, you have to do more than $35,000 a year.
Yeah, I mean, we're not even at
Charlie, when does the retirement fund expect to be?
2034.
2034. There's a lot of towns, in these conferences and classes that I've gone to, a lot of towns, what they're doing is, their plan is fully fund their retirement, and then the extra monies that have been going into that, they're refocusing on to the OPEB. But I mean, that's down the road anyways.
Well, and that's assuming that the retirement systems don't continue to kick that can down the road. Because while I've been here, that's what they've been doing. It didn't used to be 2034.
No, 3 years ago it was 2030.
Yeah.
Okay, anyone? Have a motion?
I think it's Diane's.
I make a motion to adjourn, 9:02.
Second.
No further discussion.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Good night, everyone.
Tom, thank you.
Thank you for staying.
Yes, Tom.